including crimes under campaign finance law, and regarding individuals potentially acting as illegal foreign agents for the Russian government. Among other things, the evidence was not sufficient enough to charge any campaign officials as an unregistered agent of Russian government or any other Russian principal. Investigators conducted some searches of former Trump lawyer Michael Cohen under this potential crime, but ultimately did not charge with them, according to previously unsealed search warrants. They also looked at whether the Trump Tower meeting could be considered a campaign finance violation, so eventually they decided not to. Following the release of the Robert Mueller report, Trump's campaign manager said that the president has been completely and fully exonerated yet again. Again, not true around the obstruction of justice thing, but the question is, they were pretty much completely exonerated with the collusion thing. But the obstruction of justice was on kind of another story altogether, because it really is it's definitely a little bit different, and it shows you how really seriously can you pursue an obstruction of justice investigation that has literally no crime being obstructed from. Is it really worth it, and are there more pertinent points to pursue? I mean, he did do also a lot of referrals, which I found to be pretty interesting. So there is that. So how the Trump campaigns react to the Mueller report, that's what they said. Mueller cited Congress's right to investigate the president. Special counsel Robert Mueller's report lays out the case for why Congress is able to investigate and take action against Trump's obstruction of justice. This is kind of where we go from here situation. In the report, Mueller provided legal justification for why the special counsel was able to investigate obstruction of justice, even if they could not indict a sitting president. The lengthy sections citing legal precedents also alludes to Congress's power to, under the checks and balances, to investigate and potentially impeach the president over obstruction of justice. That could be key. This is a quote from the report. The conclusion of Congress may apply the obstruction laws to the president's corrupt exercise of the powers of office accords with our constitutional system of checks and balances and the principles that no person is above the law. So that very well could be very big, because depending on whether Congress chooses to bite on this possibility of obstruction of justice, it could be very interesting to see whether people like Nancy Pelosi, people like Elijah Cummings or Adam Schiff say things like, okay, are we going to try and possibly take down the president here based on obstruction of justice, even though there was no collusion, and is there enough evidence to do so? There's plenty of evidence, even in the public, that there is obstruction of justice, but kind of infuriating, Mueller did not decide to take a bigger leap on it. And we get the sense a large reason of it is because of the actual Justice Department precedent of not being able to indict a sitting president. But there is that. So Eric Swalwell has called on William Barr to resign. That's also something interesting. Mueller declined to prosecute Jeff Sessions for perjury, saying, quote, the evidence is not sufficient to prove that Sessions gave knowingly false answers to Russia-related questions in the light of the wording and context of those questions. So, they really had to go there. If you don't remember, Sessions was accused of perjury for saying, due to inexact wording of these questions, is apparently what the problem was. It was about his meetings with the Russians, where he said he didn't have any, but he turns out he did at the Mayflower Hotel with the Russian ambassador, Sergei Kislyak, at the RNC and a campaign event at the Mayflower Hotel. So that was what he was saying there. Apparently the questions were not really exact enough to nail him on. Mueller says Trump's public acts could be considered obstruction. He said, quote, in this investigation, while it may be more difficult to establish the public-facing acts were motivated by corrupt intent, the president's power to influence actions, persons, and the events is enhanced by his unique ability to attract attention through use of mass communications, and no principle of law excludes public acts from the scope of obstruction statute. So pretty much saying here that if you do something in public, it could very well be considered obstruction. So he's really kind of laying the groundwork for Congress to take the political heat, really, so that he didn't have to. I think that's a lot of what it was, to really go after Mueller for obstruction. So, I think that'll be very interesting to see where they go from here. And another interesting thing that I want to show you, one of our last things that we're going to go over for this, is Mueller said that obstruction by Trump failed because others refused to carry out his orders. In the report, Special Counsel Robert Mueller outlined why the obstruction by President Trump failed. He just didn't have good enough stooges. James Comey didn't end the investigation of Michael Flynn, which ultimately resulted in Flynn's prosecution and conviction for lying to the FBI. Don McGahn did not. So yeah, there was justice delivered and unobstructed there. McGahn did not tell the acting attorney general that the special counsel must be removed, but was instead prepared to resign over the president's order. Corey Lewin, so again, obstruction, justice defended there. Corey Lewandowski and Dearborn did not deliver the president's message to Jeff Sessions that he should confine the Russian investigation to future election meddling only, and McGahn refused to recede from his recollections about the events surrounding the president's direction to have the special counsel removed, despite the president's multiple demands that he do so. So he's tell the truth there. So obstruction is brought through fully. Consistent with that pattern, the evidence we obtained would not support potential obstruction charges against the president's aides and associates beyond those already filed, the report said. All right, so that is very, very interesting. Here, if there's anything that comes back that's important while we're on the air, here, I'll let you know about it. But, one more thing there. I really thought that was interesting. The fact that Trump's aides were the only thing standing in the way of him obstructing justice. So, yeah, that's probably a big question that Democrats are going to have to face. The looming one of, right, can you obstruct justice? Is the intent to obstruct justice, not the actual success of obstructing justice, like the not successful act of obstructing justice, is that enough to prosecute? Is that enough to punish the president, maybe even impeach him? If he wanted to obstruct justice, would have obstructed justice if he had more willing aides, but his aides were just not willing enough to actually obstruct justice. So yeah, that's going to be something he's going to have to answer there. But before we go, one more little tidbit here from Marshall Cohen and Caitlin Polance. All these, by the way, these have all been from CNN, quoting essentially here from CNN's live breakdown of this. After Trump publicly asked Russia to hack Hillary's emails in the July 2016 press conference, he privately repeatedly asked individuals affiliated with his campaign to find the deleted Hillary emails. So that's pretty interesting. Yeah, the public request was followed within 5 hours by Russian intelligence's first effort to infiltrate Clinton's emails, the special counsel said. They sent 15 email accounts connected to Clinton's campaign with malicious links, Mueller said. That was interesting. So, yeah, after the press conference, 5 hours later, Russian intelligence was already at it. They sent 15 email accounts connected to the Clinton campaign with malicious links. This was only a small part of the broad effort the Russians made to hack the Democratic Party. One of the campaign people Trump asked was Michael Flynn, who later told investigators that Trump repeatedly made this request, according to the report. So this could be interesting here. Flynn then tried to get Clinton's emails and reached out to multiple associates, including Peter Smith, a GOP operative, whose efforts have been detailed in press accounts. This confirms for the first time that a senior campaign advisor was involved in Smith's pursuit to find Clinton's emails. Smith killed himself in May 2017 and left a note saying that there was, quote, no foul play, so things kind of went off the rails for him, just to be frank. This seems to contradict what an unnamed Trump campaign official told the Wall Street Journal in June 2017, that if Flynn coordinated with Smith, it was in Flynn's capacity as a private individual. So this was not it. He was doing it probably, what we can reasonably assume, was on the behest of Trump, because Trump asked Michael Flynn to go after those Hillary emails. So yeah, all very interesting stuff there. New. And by the way, no surprise here. Mueller thought Trump's answers that he gave were, quote, inadequate. So that's no surprise. All right, ladies and gentlemen, my rant of the week is coming up in 34 seconds. ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for listening to News Flash today. We got a new Game of Thrones episode with Dirk Paleo on the list coming out this Saturday. Be sure to be tuned for that. We are back now for the show. Really appreciate you sticking through with us. It's now this story, I got to tell you, this story really agonized me. This is another one of these big stories that's actually going to really agonize me here. Last year, Dan McCready was the Democratic congressional candidate for North Carolina's 9th District. Because of election fraud, which helped the Republican candidate, quote, barely beat him, in quotes there. In November, McCready is now running a new special election for the seat. McCready is also not a very smart guy. Honestly, after what he did yesterday, I honestly think he deserves to lose. Like, it's... that's stupid. On Wednesday evening, the Charlotte TV station WSOC reported that McCready had returned a $2,000 donation from fellow Democrat Ilhan Omar. That was made on the day of the first election, November 6th. Why? Per the TV station, quote, a spokesperson for McCready refunded the donation because he believes there is no place. Said McCready refunded the donation because he believes there's no place for divisiveness in politics, and McCready did not feel it's appropriate to accept the donation. Like, again, what has she done ever to communicate or add to divisiveness aside from having opinions that are unlike other people's? This is, it's like. So, oh my God, it just makes me want to, I'm literally crumbling. Yeah, so there is no place for, this is the biggest BS I have ever seen. Oh my God, yeah, it just makes you want to take 2 power drills to your head and just pull the trigger and drill your brains out. The more likely scenario, though, is on March 26th, one of the Republicans vying to take on McCready, State Senator Dan Bishop, whose campaign appears to have been centered on the fact that him and Dan McCready both have the first name Dan, released a web app attempting to tie McCready to the Democratic left, including Omar, AOC, and Bernie Sanders. McCready returned the Omar donation 4 days later, and on March 30th, Omar, who raised an eye-popping $832,000 in the first quarter of 2019, already made several other donations to swing Democratic districts. Oh, because she hates the Democratic Party. Like, this is such a consistent theme. There is nothing more annoying. I'm going to keep going through this again and again and again. The fact that, and this is a theme you're going to see through pretty much all interactions with lefties and Democratic establishment people. Like, every single time, Democrats, lefty Democrats, progressive Democrats have been hammered by the moderates for saying you don't care about the party unity, you just want to blow things down, you don't want to take care of the system, right? Like, have you not heard Hillary say that to Bernie, and Hillary supporters say that to Bernie supporters time and time again? And has Bernie Sanders, AOC, all those people been out of their way to be incredibly nice to Nancy Pelosi? I think that's undeniably true. Be nice to people who are represent Hillary. Go away from fights, kind of make nice with the establishment side. What do we get? Nancy Pelosi taking a dump after dump after dump after dump after dump on AOC, saying literally a glass of water with a D next to it, running as a candidate in NY14, which is the district she won, would win. So pretty much her win, AOC's win, means absolutely nothing. Throwing Ilhan Omar on the bus to the very last minute, refusing to actually come out and support her when she needed the most. When she had death threats. Where was Nancy Pelosi talking about 9/11? Give me a break. What an absolute joke. Willing to throw her own party and position under the bus. Willing to put her party and position over the life of one of the people in her caucus. Absolutely disgraceful behavior. And we got this guy who literally, after getting a donation from Ilhan Omar, decides to turn it back because he doesn't want to have to defend it for Ilhan Omar. His brain isn't big enough to handle the possibility of a defense of something Ilhan Omar has done. So it's unbelievable. You'd have a hard time finding a more milquetoast moderate in Mecklenburg County, North Carolina, than Dan McCready. Nevertheless, this was the response from Bishop, who's best known in North Carolina for authoring the infamous anti-trans, anti-worker HB2 in 2016, and also funding Twitter the Twitter for white supremacist website Gab, so he's really far right. Here's my response. I swear to you, I have not read this. Here's my prediction.